So my tooth, it fell out of my mouth.
Oh my God, child.
So what does that mean exactly?
I mean, it means that you have a curse on you, honey.
I'm sorry. I think you just said, did you say curse?
I did. A curse.
Like a real curse?
Like someone cursed the out of you.
What? Yo! Oh my God. I thought you died. I wanted to get a second opinion about the curse.
A big, sexy curse.
You're fine. She's not fine. What'd you say? I'm just robbing him, but we're leaving right now.
It's exotic. What are you?
I'm a hoe.
What? Ew. You want to swim?
Duh.
Whoa, trash kids.
Trash kids.
I love trash.
No, I love trash.
And you're gonna love me.
Perfect. Hello and welcome back to another episode of NT Movie Reviews, coming at you online and in print format at nicktiffany.com, on YouTube and all the podcast platforms at NT Movie Reviews, and as well as on social media platforms, the same name. Today I'm joined by the multi-hyphenate wonder, Annapurna Sriram, director, writer, and star of Fucktoys, playing today at the Seattle International Film Festival. In Fucktoys, a young woman seeks to break a curse by raising $1,000 for psychics. In a pre-millennium alternate universe, she navigates the seedy underbelly of Trash Town via scooter, encountering bizarre characters along the way.
Thanks for calling me a wonder. That's so nice.
I think anybody who saw the film last night will come away with the same sentiments about you.
Thank you so much.
No, thank you so much for being here. It was so awesome to have you in attendance last night for the festival. It's just one of the greater parts of, I think, doing something like this and having as big a film community as we do in Seattle. I think this is the perfect place for Fucktoys.
It really is. I mean, I'm really impressed at the cinephiles in Seattle. And last night was like kind of terrifying and overwhelming because we've never had 500 people in one room watch the movie and respond to the movie with laughter and gasps and the energy. Like I almost couldn't be in the audience because I was so nervous. It's like vulnerable to like have this movie play on the one hand.
Sure.
And it's like validating to also feel like, okay, the jokes are landing. People are engaged and they know what's happening in the story. It was definitely, it's overwhelming because I'm just like not prepared for that many people in one room to see the movie.
Sure. To be singing some well-earned praises.
Honestly, Seattle's sick. I love Seattle. First of all, I want to move here. But also, I just think that the people here have a certain kind of culture and like edge that's like maybe missing in some other parts of America.
Absolutely.
Where they're a little bit outside the box and they're kind of like down for the weird and the wild. Yeah, so I felt very at home.
Sure. Well,
movie.
I'm really glad to hear that. It was fun lining up for the movie. It was sold out. Standby lines there.
Lining up or lighting up?
It could have been both. A missed opportunity for one.
Yeah.
But upon lining up, they're like, okay, we're going to move you down the street. You keep going. The line snakes through the back alley. And I was like, this actually feels like there's some trash back here. I was like,
directions in the South.
When
they're like, okay, what you're going to want to do is you see that dumpster, keep going.
Hang a left.
And you see that Safeway, keep going. And then you're going to hit that.
Then in Route 33, you're going to go even further.
Yeah.
So, I made my way around the alleyway, and they're like, all right, into the Safeway parking lot here. And I was like, cool.
We got to get you in Trash Town.
There.
Immerse you in the world.
I think that's what we were gearing up for. People are stumbling drunk all around us. I was like, okay, we're really getting the good feel for it before going in. I'm glad that you mentioned, though, feeling some of that emotion there, because during the question and answer last night, I could tell, you mentioned it. You were like, I'm getting a little misty-eyed, getting a little emotional.
Yeah. That was crazy.
I bet.
I got emotional during the Q&A and y'all missed it.
This is why you come to these shows. This is why you get tickets and you come to these
You see
screenings.
the director get vulnerable in person and then get immediately embarrassed for about getting vulnerable in person.
Well, this is such it's a vulnerable performance. and in so many
Yeah.
ways, very courageous in terms of the story you're telling, how you're deciding to tell it, what you're bearing as part of your soul. It could be your body, whatever it might be. There's a lot of
Yeah.
intimacy in a film like this.
You know, it's funny because I kind of, when I made this movie, I gave myself this like rule, which was to pretend like my parents would never see it. And I think that's really important when you make art, because if you have this like feeling of your parents like over your shoulder watching you as you're typing your script or coming up with your ideas, you're kind of automatically going to filter yourself
Sure.
in a way to like keep everyone happy.
Sure.
And I think that's one of the reasons why I get so freaked out actually watching the movie with strangers, because I'm like remembering, oh my God, I actually really went there. And like, why did I write all that stuff in the movie and like talk about my sex life and like my life and these like random kinks that I have, like all these
Blue
things.
slushies are going to be
Blue
forever
slushies,
changed.
like giving a blowjob with a blue tongue, like all these little details. And I think that on the one hand, you know, we live in this like culture right now of like irony and like distance. You don't want to bear too much, but I actually like as a person, I used to joke about myself being like very sentimental, but very like kind of slutty and wild.
Sure.
And I was living this sort of like weird contradiction.
Sure.
But I think that actually being very vulnerable is what I hope makes people respond to the movie, and that also makes them feel differently about trans people or sex workers, and that they're able to like see them as human and sort of like endearing and sort of just like themselves. Specifically, what kind of was getting me emotional last night, which might happen again, is that, you know, it's such a hard movie to make, and especially in the environment that we're in and the industry, you know, these types of movies that really are like not like anything that's happening right now in cinema. It's like not in the form. We don't have celebrity really, like we don't have these huge, you know, stars in the movie. The format of the script is very different. You know, it's not like a typical sort of like
the hero's journey.
Yeah, it's the fool's journey.
That's right.
Yeah, it's the fool's journey. So it's a little different. And the way it was shot with like this camp kind of like wacky culture in the movie, I was just kind of reflecting in this moment of like, it really was such a hard movie to make. But also the feelings that I had when I was writing the script and while we were making it was also just like how it's so hard for all of us in this community of America to make things happen. Like anyone sort of going after their dream is like coming up against the realities of having student loan debt or not being able to buy a house, or there's no jobs, or, you know, being a woman and dealing with sexism or racism or whatever the structures are. I really feel like this movie like is about a curse, but you know, the curse isn't this like magical thing. It's not like some person hexed the character. Like the curse is just that feeling of like, why is life so hard? And so that's the thing that I think made me like choke up, is just feeling like that was how it felt for so long. And then here I am in this moment getting to like getting across, you know, the barrier, like making it over the crest of the mountain, and then feeling like, wow, we did it actually. Like we were pushing this boulder up a hill for 8 years and now we're like getting to like, you know, ride the sled down the other side of it and feel kind of, you know, it's like a big feeling. It's like feeling like very accomplished. And so that was why I got a little bit emotional, because it's like, wow, we did it. And whoever thought we could do that.
And it's so much a part of yourself from, you know, I loved hearing bits and interviews about you putting together the lookbook and putting together so many pieces of this to bring in this vision. And it really, you know, something that you mentioned as far as, I think it does a great job of just normalizing love, sex, desire, shame, all these different things. The approach is so casual, which I love. And I think
I really wanted, because I think that shame is kind of the most useless thing in society.
It's the worst.
Like shame really does not need to exist.
And it
like,
rules too much. But
and also, I mean, you grew up in the South. I grew up in the South. Like shame is wielded in this power, I think, a lot for a lot of people, especially very conservative people. And then on the other side of it, you know, people who have shame, who then have like a kink or a desire or a fantasy, have to live in the shadows or like explore it in this very like closeted, late at night on the internet, sneaky way.
Deceptive.
And actually, like, we don't have to do that as people. And I think it's like, would be amazing, like if we were kind of liberated, where people can like have their kinks, have their fantasies, and then also just like live their life, and it's like no big deal, in the way that like what you choose to wear is no big deal. So that is something that I'm kind of passionate about, because I really wanted the sex and the intimacy in the movie not to really be the center focus, but to be this thing that they're kind of playing with.
Sure.
But it's really about the other connection that they're having, and that's sort of secondary, or doesn't really matter.
Absolutely. And there were just so many moments, every character in the film. Because you shot this on 16 millimeter film, it looks incredible.
With anamorphic lenses.
I'm like, when I was looking
V-Light anamorphic.
when I was looking at the Kodak print, getting the dailies from, I was like, that's so cool to have something included like that.
Oh.
To say everybody, from their interactions to the individual characters, from the love that they might share, the sexual encounters that they share, the way you presented it in some of that casualness and some of just, this is our world and this is how we inhabit it. You're not going to think twice about the randomness of Trash Town around you. It just is our world, and this is how we behave. And there's so much freedom in that I think, especially for an audience here in Seattle, who is far more kink positive, who is so inclusive in the LGBTQIA plus community. I think it really resonated with audience. Something I've always felt about film is any person who's a fan of film, you're a little voyeuristic.
Yes.
There is this, in essence, this feeling of like, okay, I'm having some reaction watching something. And sometimes it's something that, you don't usually get to see something like this close or this intimate.
It's like you get to see them like unzip a little bit. The directors used to be more bold in like very specifically unzipping their shit in a way for their films. And like, especially when you look at movies like by Ken Russell, even like De Palma, you see like kind of strange sexuality, or just like, I mean, Quentin Tarantino is another like example, like with his like foot fetish, where you're kind of
It's
like,
the easy one for us. That's people's intro to.
Yeah, that's like that's like an easy like.
I get that actually.
But I think that like there is something kind of fun about that. It's sort of like, okay, well, I'll show you mine. Like, this is my weird little thing. And it doesn't have to be sexual or kink. It could also be, I think Todd Haynes is another one who explores like deeply personal or familial trauma or wounds. And that's where it's like, when it's hyper specific and idiosyncratic to the director, it also becomes that much more universal and understood.
Absolutely.
And I think that like little quality of the director going there and like digging deep and like not being afraid of exposing themselves a little bit through the narrative is what you're saying. What it gives the audience, that like voyeuristic thing. I don't know if you've ever seen any Kavi Sahadi movies.
Admittedly, I have not.
Okay, well, he's like to the extreme about honesty about himself. And he has this incredible movie called I'm a Sex Addict. And it's literally about his addiction to sex workers. And like even making the movie about his addiction to sex workers would bring up parts of his addiction to sex. Like and he examines all of it in this incredibly honest way, where you're like enjoying the revelation and the like discovery that the director themselves are having in their own, and they're like bearing it all. But yes, I totally feel you on this like voyeuristic. Cronenberg also is so weird. Yeah. He has some crazy shit. But then you kind of love him because you're like,
I've never seen something like this before. No one's been bold enough to do something like this in a while. And I felt that a lot in your performance last night, because something that really stood out in this film is your character. There's so much confidence. There's sexiness. There is kinkiness. There's hilariousness. Deep down, though, there's some really almost heartbreaking moments that AP goes through, where really she's just looking to either take care of someone, to either give them, whether it's pleasure, whether it's comfort, whatever it might be. You see her trying to be her authentic self, whether it's paying a compliment to somebody or making a little joke, and how quickly that can be kind of misstrewn. And there's these moments where, for as much confidence as she has, you see these bits of reservation, these bits of, oh my gosh, this is like crushing my soul here, whether it's rejection, dejection. And I was so impressed with how authentic the performance came across, and how,
thank you.
How just balls to the walls you went with the performance. In my head, when I was doing a little research, I was like, okay, she's got a theater background. Okay, I was like, I knew to a degree you had to be a theater kid. I didn't know to how much of a degree, because when I watch people kissing and there's blood all over their face, it's funny when I have friends who either have done no theater, no film, like, how could you just like That's just so weird. How could you do that? You'd be thinking about, you just do it.
Yeah.
It's
kind of
really
throw yourself
not a big-
in, and if you're a theater kid, you know there's like a little. Are you a theater kid?
I know.
There's like a, there's like a little dopamine rush
100%.
when you just throw yourself into a scene and kind of get out of your head and you're just in your body.
Mhm.
And then you're like in a scene, you're in rehearsal or you're on set, and then it's like cut, it's over. And you're like, I don't remember what just happened.
Could have blanked out for a second.
Yeah. Then you're
was
kind
that?
of like rushing and you're like, ooh, I felt so alive. And like,
Why did you do
things
that
were-
again?
Things were cooking. Like,
Yeah.
that's such a like natural drug. And theater kids are on that drug and they know it's a good drug and it's safe. It's a little addictive, but it is like I'm very comfortable dropping in, as we would say.
Sure.
And I also felt like my actors in this film are so talented. Every
really
single actor, I mean, I handpicked them, so I'm biased, but every single actor, I was like a stage mom to them, where I was like, I can't wait for people to see you. You're going to be a star.
You're going to be great, sweetie.
Yeah, I was like that. So as their scene partner, I just get to like take in what they're giving me. And that was so easy for me because they gave such incredible performances that I didn't have to go very far to find the truth of the scene, because what they gave me was so alive and spontaneous that I could just like ride the ride with them and just respond. But it was also important for me that she was like flawed.
Sure.
That even though, she's our fool that we're on this journey with, she's herself unaware of when she's misstepping or, really seeing the other like condition I was like really wanted to explore is this thing that I think girls do it a lot. I think it's people pleasing is all gendered,
Sure.
but there's definitely, I think girls are trained to do it a little bit more. And
Absolutely.
this like approach to life where she's like, everything's fine. Like, I'm great. I'm not going to rock the boat. And she's going to be in the face of something really crazy and just kind of like, no, it's cool. This makes sense.
No biggie.
She's going to try to maintain that level of I'm groovy until she absolutely can't. Even when she's like, you know what? I think I need to go. I think this is maybe dangerous. I'm realizing I might be in danger, and I'm still going to be polite and saying,
Absolutely right. I'm like, she's just too sweet.
I like your house. I had such a good time. I'm thinking I have to go now. Like, she can't even like leave with confidence. And I think that felt like me in my 20s.
Sure.
And that kind of personality, I think a lot of people can relate to that.
Sure.
And then I also think the kind of humor that I have is like one where I love to like see absurd situations.
Absolutely.
Where I think we've all been in absurd situations where
this is a movie moment.
In the moment of an absurd thing happening, are still just acting like, oh no, it's fine. Like,
I'll be okay.
Oh, you're gonna freebase some cocaine. That's totally normal. And like everyone that, no, I'm not judging. Like,
it's just another Tuesday, It's
no, you do you. Like,
I'll just watch.
So I think that like that kind of humor is what I was like was fun for me to explore.
Sure.
In the crazy scenes is actually just like this crazy thing happening and then the characters having to just like power through.
Something I appreciated that you were talking about last night in the film, you were kind of referencing when you were starting this project 8 years back. You mentioned like the Homeland era of auditions, this idea of because of the way that you look, you could be great for a terrorist, Iranian woman, whatever it might be. Those are your roles. That's what we have for you. And as time in those 8 years has shifted with the rise of streaming, with a wider growing acceptance of whether it's the LGBTQ community, trying to be a little bit more open with sex in this country and talking about things around that. Was that the story evolved over those 8 years as time did? And did you feel like in doing this film, you were kind of creating an opportunity for yourself for a role that maybe you would not have been offered, but is important for people to see you in?
Yes, that was more my agenda. I think this is maybe more of a pitfall for actors of color. When you're an actor of color, you get these breakdowns for auditions, and they describe the character you're auditioning for. And they'll specifically say, Black or African American or Chinese or Japanese or Iran or Egyptian or ethnically ambiguous or
vaguely
open ethnicity. And the opportunity for people of color is this like small selection of roles. And then it's also typically roles written by white people.
Sure.
So they're like overwriting.
Often
these,
a man
like,
sometimes.
Yeah, often a man, where they're trying to like, they make the character almost where the only defining factor of that character is their race.
Sure.
So like we were talking about this Homeland era, it's like all the characters I was auditioning for, not only are they in a hijab or they have an accent, it's like that's all they talk about.
Are you
it's
really
like,
are you a character? Are you a
Yeah.
fully realized person in
Right.
this story
Or
that
are you
matters?
just like there to be like, well, my religion, you know, like back in my country, whatever. So I feel like personally what real equity would look like and what real diversity and inclusion would look like is write a great script, have incredible characters, and just don't cast white people. And then the characters never have to talk about their identity. They just can live their day-to-day life like I do, because I'm never talking about where my parents are from. You know, I live in my day-to-day life and I'm just talking about whatever's happening right
I'm
in
just a
front of
girl
me.
from Nashville.
I'm just a girl from Nashville trying to make a movie. You know? And so in my script in this movie, I basically followed that ethos where I was like, every character is going to be a larger than life character. What makes them big characters is not this like obsession with their race or their gender or their sexuality or their religion, but just what the actor is bringing to the table to flesh out the character. That to me was basically like, this is how I want to be seen by the industry. I want to just be seen as a person, a girl, an American, just like you.
Sure.
I'm not that different.
No.
And also give opportunities for a lot of other actors of color to just come to the table and play and get to create a character in a scene that has nothing to do with them needing to explain basically to the audience.
How did you get here? How did you?
I think that also that type of storytelling is kind of boring
Yeah.
and dated, and it's cringe because like as the actor in the role, you're kind of like, this is embarrassing.
What are you
Like
doing?
I would never talk like this. Yeah.
Have you had conversations with people of color? Can you talk to a gay person before?
And so I think that like that was a mission I had with the movie, and I think with a lot of my scripts that I write is like, I'm like, look, I just want to write great characters and then just cast it with great actors. And if the great actors happen to not be white, that's even better, because we've just given an opportunity to someone and they get to like express themselves as their full self and not just in this two-dimensional way.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I love hearing that. That, you know, there was another comment. It was a funny comment that I'm telling you, you guys got to go to the Q&As. You got to go to the movies. You had mentioned though that there's this feeling of like, yeah, you know, whether it's speaking about the culture of today, the irony of things, it's like, you know, I want to be on film and up on the screen when I look good, when I have a period of time. But it's honest though. It is this feeling. I feel like people, millennials, older, younger, in the age of social media, there is this weird, like, I want to be confident.
Yeah.
And I think I have confidence. I think I might be attractive. I think I look good in this and I want to put that out there. And then there's this side of you that's like, no, is that vain? Is that like whatever it might be? And I tell you, seeing your face up in 16 millimeter format, you know, the film looks like it's from another time.
It's gorgeous.
It's gorgeous. It feels like you're watching something from the past. But the coolest thing is seeing someone who looks like yourself.
Yeah.
And seeing so many of the other different characters in the film immortalized now in film print.
Yes.
And it was a cool feeling of like, I have seen movies on film before, but nothing like this.
I mean, first of all, I grew up in the South. I was growing up, the only movie I had where there was like a brown girl was Bend It Like Beckham. There was also Mississippi Masala, but in terms of like being in middle school and like having a movie, it was like Bend It Like Beckham. And I'm like not a sports person. So it was kind of like, okay, we'll have to make this work. But, you know, I love French New Wave. I love Grindhouse. I love camp. I love all of these fun, you know, beautiful movies, like you're saying, that are shot on film, but none of them have a beautiful brown sex icon. Really. I mean, we have Pam Grier. We have some great ones.
Sure. No, you're absolutely right, though.
Yeah, I felt like young girls like me should get to have a movie where there's like a hot, self-possessed, sexy Bridget Bardot, but
That's right.
she's not blonde.
She's hitting the lollipop
Yeah.
move, and
She's
you're
got
like,
the
whoa.
lollipop. Yeah, she's
Whoa.
got all this stuff. She's like whatever little like thing we can get. However we can make this an iconic person. Like let's do it. The bow, the lollipop, the
great.
shoes,
Shoes, iconic.
you know, the moped, and
Your outfit changes.
the outfit change.
Or not
the
so much
same
of an outfit.
Yeah, that was like my cartoon, like Simpsons. Like all the characters just have one look.
Uh-huh.
That was how I felt. I want this to exist,
Mhm.
and so I can just make it exist with myself. And you know, I have this feeling as an actor of like, oh, I'm getting older. I'm going to age out. I'm going to age out of playing all the fun stuff.
Once you turn 25, you can't play anyone until you're 60. You know, I figured. I was surprised to learn you were younger.
I started working on this when I was 12. It's crazy. So I felt also like you're saying, like this kind of idea of like, you know what? You're only young once. You only get to be hot and young when you're hot and young.
Yeah.
So like you have to just like capture that moment and kind of savor that moment and enjoy that moment, because then when you get older, you realize looking back, like, oh my God, I was such a little like hottie.
I was a minx. I was like, damn.
no, and I was like, so why was I so self-conscious?
It's like seeing pictures of grandma in black and white in her
right.
bathing suit, and you're like, okay, damn, grandma. And it's like, oh, put on this movie Fucktoys, and you'll see.
I know my grandkids are gonna be so messed up about all this, but hopefully in a good way. I do feel like that was such an agenda that I had of like, I want to give young girls who look like me just like their Bridget Bardot.
Sure.
And I think that's important too, just for like kids growing up in this country who are inundated in like white Eurocentric beauty standards to break some. And I think that is happening like in social media. I think seeing models on Instagram and just seeing how expansive what we consider beautiful to change is getting. But I also think it can't just be Instagram. We also need it in cinema. We need it in new wave cinema. We need it in these canons of movies.
Absolutely.
So it's not just like disappearing in your feed, but this can live, like you're saying, on celluloid forever.
That's so. It just the movie was so terrific.
Thank you so much.
I was curious to know, because this is such a personal project, because writing, directing, and starring in it yourself, you know, performing some of the acts that you might have to, saying certain, you know, it's the funniest. We can swear on here. We can say cum. We can say things like this. But you watch that in the theater, and again, I think sometimes there's that first initial like, oh, should I have heard that? Or like, is that allowed? Like, can she say that?
I know.
And I had this experience recently, which was great when watching Sinners. I don't know if
I
you've
haven't seen it yet.
had a chance to see it. There are so many moments in that
Being
film.
sold out in 70 that I need to see it. Yeah. Okay.
That's true. No,
So
you're right. Yeah,
we need
that's
to
the only
see it,
format
yeah.
I haven't seen it in, and that is a must.
Yeah.
But there are these aspects of like, this film is sexy. This film is kind of raunchy. There's like, there's little things that people say, and you're like looking at the people around you like, oh my God, like how did she just, okay.
Yeah.
And it's this almost collective like gasp. There's a little bit of that awkward kind of chuckle maybe too, but then you're like, I know everyone else is feeling a little hot and bothered because of like, they've got chemistry and just there's an aspect of normalizing that in life and in media, because just like the voyeuristic thing, I think that so many people are so secretive or withheld with the things that they enjoy, or it's like, no, I can't let people know that I liked that line, or like I liked their little sexy interaction, or I found there was something enticing about that stirred something within me. And so watching this film with an audience was so great. Looking at all the people around me, shocked faces, jaws dropped, laughter. There were moments where I'm sure, like everyone else, I was like mystified by some of the still images on the frame, whether it was yourself or some of the other actors in there. And it was just beautiful to take in.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much.
I'm just curious, when you put so much of yourself out there, when you put so much of yourself in the story, were there things that perhaps you maybe haven't been able to share with the public, or were there things that maybe you hadn't been able to confidently explore in yourself that once you made the film either kind of pushed you there, or was there something you were surprised by how open you had to be in your performance, or how vulnerable you had to be, that maybe you were like, oh, that wasn't as hard as I thought it was, or like, wow, I really appreciate that I was able to kind of have the courage to go there.
Yeah. I think that like a lot of the scenes in this movie are actually kind of ripped from real life in my real life. So some of the lines of dialogue or interactions really happened.
Okay.
And then I would sort of like write them down in my phone.
Can't believe this.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I can't believe someone just said that to me. Or like, there's like a scene where the guy is like, hey, like, there are guys that are like into A and B cup sized girls. Like, don't be sad. And I was like, I wasn't even sad. Like, why are you?
Don't count yourself out.
Yeah, like, don't be sad.
There's
you have
hope.
Big tits.
There's somebody
You know,
out
and
there.
I was literally like, that is so unhinged. That
What the
someone would
fuck?
just like tell me not to. And so I think that like more what would happen for me is as writing it, I felt like these are real things that happened. And because these are real things that happened, there's always going to be this like ring of truth to them.
Sure.
And then I think you get to set and then you're like doing the scene.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when I would be the most like, why the fuck did I write this movie? Like, here I am on this bed with Francois and he's sucking my tongue. That really happened in real life. But like now I'm reenacting the real scene.
Sure.
And I feel kind of.
I told that guy it was weird when he did it to me, and now I'm doing it.
Yeah, well, I didn't even tell the guy. I just went with it because I was like trying to be cool.
You were a
and normal.
pleaser.
Yeah, I was
You
a
were
pleaser.
sure.
But then I'm like explaining it to Francois, and I'm like, he's like, so what am I doing with your tongue? And I'm like, it's literally like I'm just gonna stick it out, and then you're
Just like make out with my tongue, pretty much.
Yeah,
is what
like
we
that's
do.
kind of what he did, and that's like what you're gonna do. And luckily, like all of my cast is really amazing and trusting, and they were safe when we like went there together.
Sure.
But I did have that feeling a lot of like, why am I putting all of this out there? Like when you're alone and you're writing a script, it feels really like it doesn't feel
You feeling
so
yourself
ballsy.
a little bit, kind of while you're.
And you're like, that really happened, so I'm really gonna put it in, and they really said it like that. Or when Robert has his little monologue at the mirror in the bathroom, and he's like, he's like, I'm basically gay. Like someone would said that to me, but they were sort of like apologizing for their feeling emasculated.
Sure.
And
Sure.
I was like, it's such a funny line. I have to have someone say that because it's so idiosyncratic. And then he said, I just like old movies. Like, and then he really said that follow-up. I was like, what a beautiful, like poetic moment. I was always taken by these like moments in real life that felt cinematic and also felt like I've never seen this in a movie.
Sure.
Like I've never seen this scene play out in a movie.
Sure.
I think it's cool to write it. But then I did always have that second moment of doing the scene and then an edit and post when I'm editing the scene with my editor where I'm just like, I'm so sorry.
Why did I do that?
I know. I'm literally like, I don't know why I made this scene in this movie. And then she just had to be there to be like, just shut up and let me cut the movie.
Trust the process.
Yeah, she
Trust
was like,
the
it's
process.
great. But I also had the same fear of everyone's gonna think I'm a narcissist. Like I made this whole movie that's like centered on me.
She just wants to look good on film.
Yeah, exactly. She
You just want
wanted
to kiss
be
some
her-
hot
yeah,
actors and
exactly.
actresses. Okay.
She just wanted to be a slut. On
Typical
like,
director.
a little
Okay.
hoe in a movie. Yeah, and I had that fear too of like, is everyone just gonna think that's what I'm doing? But a lot of actors star and are themselves and do all the things. But yes, I had all of those insecurities and just had to push through because by the time you're on set, you can't really rewrite the scene. You're like, we're doing it.
We're in it.
We're greenlit. We're going. So I just have to like do it like it happened for real the first time.
Sure.
When it just happened in my life.
Sure.
Yeah.
I love, their sex and comedy go so well together because of those real and authentic moments where someone might make that comment of, yeah, you know what, actually, I'm pretty sure I'm gay. I might be, I can't get it up. And like, do you want me to help with that? And then there's frustration. There's so many moments that really don't get shined on. Or, there's moments where I'm like, someone will fart, someone will tweet, whatever it is. And you're like,
it's
we're
human
gonna,
though.
It's human.
And actually,
and there shouldn't be shame.
There shouldn't
around.
be shame. And actually, I think this is such a missed opportunity in a lot of movies that have sex or have intimacy, because real intimacy is not the like groping and making out. The intimacy is like when you are kind of revealed and vulnerable.
Yeah.
I call it the flaccid dick on the thigh, the postcoital flaccid dick. When it's like shriveled and small and it's suddenly like not the sexy stud.
Where'd he go?
Where you're like, that's the intimacy though. Like that's the real moment of them really being naked, not just like sexy naked, but kind of like
I don't need to
human naked.
pose properly. I don't need you to
Yeah.
see me in this specific light.
Yeah.
You get to see me as I am.
Yeah, that's the like real intimacy. And it is funny and it is vulnerable and it is kind of silly and goofy and playful. And I think in a lot of movies, there's a missed opportunity. You see the sex scene and then it's just cut to them in bed with the sheets pulled up.
Cigarette here, and we'll turn the light out.
And it's just like suave, whatever.
Mhm.
But it's like, what a missed opportunity for the real moment of like,
Yeah.
oh, can you go get a towel? Oh, I need to go pee.
Mhm.
Like, are you like embarrassed that you just did that? Are you regretting it? Are you into it? Are you like maybe
Why did I try
involved?
that? I don't.
Yeah. So I just think that like that is like such a unexplored realm of the human condition. And I'm here for it.
It's so, and it's so authentic, and I think it really plays that way too. And it doesn't just feel like, they just wanted to put two hot people together for a sex scene. They needed something hot and steamy for
Well,
5
also,
seconds.
The kind of pinnacle sex scene is a non-sex scene
I,
in the movie.
I laughed so hard during the lead up into that post tongue sucking.
Yes.
Totally surprised me,
Yes.
but was also just the perfect epitome of like, yeah, this has probably happened to
Tons
countless
of,
women.
Yes. It's the like failed sex scene.
Uh-huh.
And then this like aftermath of shame and generational burnout.
Sure.
You could say.
Sure.
But it isn't this like take my breath away,
We're not getting the Top Gun. Yes.
Yeah, sex scene.
Yes.
It is this like, now we have to do it. And what if you can't?
Huh. One other thing that I just did growing up, part of my life down in Houston, and I know you were from Nashville, filming out in Louisiana for this film.
Yeah.
How did you end up down there? Because it looks magical, especially shot on film, and it's so nice to get away from LA, from certain big cities.
Yeah.
And I know you kind of spoke to the fact that if you drive through any state, there's always some
Yes.
weird small town, like buildings are abandoned,
Yes.
things are crumbling. There's like a shop or two that somehow is open.
And there's a refinery somewhere.
The refineries, every time you scootered by that, I was like, this reminds me of driving like on the freeways in Houston.
Yes.
I'm like looking at when I was younger in the distance, I'm like, what are these flames? What is happening? I'm like,
It's like hyper industrial and makes no sense. And I wanted it to feel like, the city skyline is like one of those refineries.
Sure.
Is the city skyline. So
the light's gonna guide you home from the flame.
we scouted, my original dream, which is an indie film nightmare, was I was like, we should film in every state. Like we should film every scene, like a scene in every state. So the movie truly is this tapestry of America.
Sure.
Where it isn't one place. It's like Springfield from The Simpsons. It's like,
Sure.
where does it take place? It's like this every America. It's like this symbolizes neglected Americana, like nostalgia landscape.
Mm-hmm.
But that's really not feasible for indie film.
Sure.
It's just like not possible. So I'm from Tennessee. A lot of it, we wanted it to be dystopian. We were leaning into this like humid, lush, overgrown look rather than like a dusty Mad Max sort of look. I didn't want it to be like desert.
It's tried and true. We've been there.
And I was like, I don't want it to slide into like Burning Man. Like I wanted to keep it in this sort of like sweaty.
Even though I feel like you got one of those buses from some people who went to Burning Man.
Right.
The whole tanning bed set up in there. I was like, this came from a festival.
Yeah.
This is somebody's for sure. Well, this was not made for the movie. Somebody had this together.
Yeah. No,
and stood on top of buses.
Yeah. So we scouted in Tennessee and Florida and even New Jersey, because I love New Jersey, and Newark and Elizabeth are these great spots in New Jersey that have all the industry, that have all this like lush, overgrown areas.
Sure.
And we got the tax credit for Louisiana. So the tax credit's very competitive for a small film.
Sure.
It made a lot of sense for us. And we were able to get some additional financing because of the tax credit. I think that like right outside of New Orleans, we really tried to find locations that didn't feel like New Orleans, that very like French Quarter architecture. So we really were very picky with making sure these big wide shots that we have of Trash Town felt kind of anonymous in their architecture, in the style, where it was never like pinpointing an exact place.
Sure.
There's a lot of like very, very unfortunate natural disasters around New Orleans.
Sure.
So, like the phone lines that were tilted, you see the state struggling, and you see the state struggling to like put itself back together.
Sure.
And so we were able to capture some of that feeling. But once again, we were like, we don't want to have tarps. I don't want it to feel like New Orleans or natural disaster. We wanted it to really feel like this is a place that has just slowly been forgotten, and kind of also gives you that like childhood nostalgia feeling.
Totally.
Where it feels familiar, like it's something you maybe saw as a kid, but then, where I'm from in Nashville, it's so gentrified in certain areas that like I go to places that we used to go as kids and it's just like unrecognizable.
Like there are 5,000 condos here now
It's
where
like, there's like a diner and like a little like dive bar and this cute little like boutique, and now
country western dance hall.
And now it's condo. And so there's also this part of me that was like, I want to find those little places before they're gentrified.
Sure.
And get those little like motels or strip clubs or donut shops or whatever.
Donut shop cracks me up.
Yeah. And get a shot of it. So we also remember like, this is kind of like more the vibe in my opinion. And like, I'm more into this than like the gentrified condo shit.
100%.
But yeah, that was like building Trash Town came with like a lot of love, and came with like, I actually truly love Trash Town. So that was sort of how I built the landscape of Trash Town, and also finding a lot of color.
Sure.
Places around the South when there's like a random pipe that's yellow, where there's random pops of color built into this sort of like urban environment. I was always drawn to like, if there's a pop of color, like we have to shoot it. Because
did that come up in terms of, I don't know if it was a lensing technique, some of the lighting, but there are specific moments in the film that are lit, whether in red, blue, bits of yellow. They're brilliant.
Yeah.
And they evoke the sense of the scene and what's kind of happening to the character there. What influence did you kind of draw from for that?
I wanted it to feel like cartoon, like monochromatic, bright, like Pee-wee's Big Adventure. Like we're looking at like a live action cartoon. And so I wanted it to be really colorful and not like busy with pattern, but just like blocks of color. And in Pierre Le Fou, there's this scene where he's at a party and like the color swaths of the shots just like change. We're just like blue, green. It would just be like one tone. And so I sort of pulled from that. I pulled from this sort of like Bond era with this like silhouetted, like, this like feeling of like a 60s
popping
Bond.
The guys down on the couch, the bra comes off in the silhouette.
Where you're like not really, it's sexy, but you're not getting this like gratuitous nudity. And I really wanted color to feel like kaleidoscopy and I had a very strict color palette. It was red, it was green, it was yellow, it was baby blue and baby pink. And a little bit of royal blue.
Sure.
But I was like, no purple, no orange.
Things.
Like naturally there's always like kind of brown tones with like wood.
Sure.
But really wanting like the primary colors and then these like baby pastel colors to like really pop in the world, which is, why some of the key props or like her moped or even like the big like sky looking like pastel. Like I really wanted color to like have its moment.
Sure.
And not necessarily get lost in like too much busyness.
Sure.
But yeah, that was my really strict color palette.
That I like that. I like that. It works really well in the story.
And it's very like nostalgic because a lot of movies from the 60s pulled that same, like you can see the shirt that he's wearing, like this is this like color where it's like baby blue, red, baby pink. Yes. And then like a green, like the green grass or like the yellow flower. And like, that's the palette. And like blue sky, so that was really like, I was very fixated on my color.
It shows up. It shows up well. Something you just had mentioned just about filming down in Louisiana. There were aspects of it that made me think of True Detective.
Yeah.
And in particular, I think of Matthew McConaughey.
Actually, the dive bar
around.
We filmed in, where the Fucktoys dive bar, they filmed True Detective there.
Oh, okay.
So that's a location that we share with True Detective.
So, I mean, that was, and that's what I appreciated about filming. Ooh, okay. I'm adding it to the board. When I think of it, just, that show in particular, there were these eerie, swampy aspects of where they were out. you had a lot of that feeling. And I think McConaughey's character at one point says, like, this place looks like a memory of somewhere
Oh my god,
that's been forgotten. And you have all, you know, of course, Woody Harrelson's like, what the fuck are you talking? Like, shut the fuck up with your $10 words over there, you know. But there really was this feeling of, you look around and you look at, how is there just a grocery store, all these other shops abandoned, closed? Where did the
and
people
scrap metal?
Yes.
Where's the people?
And so I really appreciated a lot of that focus, or how it just kind of influenced the story as well, because you do make it out to California eventually.
Yes.
As far as location might go.
Yeah.
Was that a little bit of a trip up getting that? Were you happy to get to California for that? Or were you also kind of feeling a little bit of longing for the time you'd spent near the Bight?
So we had to push those shoot dates, and from our main unit into another unit. We shot in 4 different units. Just because of COVID and scheduling, and there was a hurricane, and just the nature of indie filmmaking.
Sure.
And so when we were pushing those shoot dates, they were getting pushed into basically the beginning of hurricane season. And when you have 3 days of exterior predominantly in a pool,
Sure.
you don't want to lose any time because of thunder or lightning.
Sure.
Because if there's thunder or lightning, it's like out of the pool.
Got to
we have
reset.
wait for 20 minutes. When that happened, the location we were looking at, there was really only one exterior location in Louisiana that had that sort of 80s manhunter.
Yes.
Like it had this
Yep.
kind of like Michael Mann energy, belly energy. Like
Sure.
that was what I wanted for
Sure.
the mansion, to feel like that kind of like 80s mansion, Miami. The glass
It didn't
brick.
feel new enough. You know, it
Yeah.
felt like it was perfectly in time there.
Yeah.
Frozen almost.
And so there's not a lot of those weird kind of like modern type houses in Louisiana. And looking at just like the weather and the cost,
Mhm.
we realized we could probably find that location in California and not have to worry about rain, because it doesn't rain so much.
Okay.
We were like, the one thing that California has is like good weather every day.
Sure.
So we know we can shoot and not have to worry about the rain.
Sure.
And that location is actually featured in Big Little Lies. It's Laura Dern's mansion in Big Little Lies.
Okay.
And it's
that's
just the
okay.
exterior. The interior was actually in Louisiana. So those are 2 different places that we match.
Freaking film technique.
I know. And I like to imagine that character at the end is Laura Dern's son from Big Little Lies. And it's like all the same universe. And he's just like at home in house arrest.
Hey, as soon as I saw the little ankle monitor, I was like, oh my God.
I know. But that was where that decision came from. And I think it was the right call, because it just made it where one thing you don't have to worry about off your plate. Plus the shot where you get the ocean is so stunning to me, and such a like, oh my gosh, I'm in a movie. I'm in like the scene. I'm in this like 70s Italian, like by the Riviera. Like you suddenly are transported into like the feeling I wanted to evoke.
Totally.
And so I was like, whatever, it's worth the money. It's worth the flights. It's worth all of it just to like have those shots with the roses and the ocean. It's so beautiful.
It was. I love it. And then there was a funny comment you had made that felt almost out of place.
Yeah.
And something I love that you do within the film is it does feel like it is from the past, but there are still aspects of it that are current, whether it's in how people speak to one another, things.
Yeah.
You said like, is that an infinity pool?
Yeah.
I don't know why in my head I laughed so hard. I was like, why does that feel strange for there to be an infinity pool in this world?
Also, she's like,
I've just
never
left
seen
Trash
one.
Town, and it's like, oh wait, these are real.
We call his neighborhood Glass Town.
Glass.
So he lives in like Glass Town because it's like the glass brick. And then so she leaves Glass Town. And then I also joke that like at the fancy party, all of those people are like from Glass Town, but they like come to Trash Town to like slum it, to like have a dirty orgy.
To be a little debaucherous.
Yes, they're like,
what's it about old white people and these crazy orgies? I don't know.
Where they want to live a little. You know, they need culture too. But I do like that infinity pool line, because it's also like that feeling of like when you've never seen. Like she doesn't know what a mixologist. Like she's.
I was waiting for you to take a picture with your flip phone. Actually, I don't know if that phone had a camera on it. Actually, but
it does.
Well, I want to be cognizant of your time, because
this is-
Annapurna actually has to go and host
We have another
Q&A,
screening.
another screening here in Seattle.
This has been so fun. I feel like we could talk all day though.
No, believe me, I was like, do not check your phone. Do not check the time. Someone will come in and I'm like,
This was so fun.
You're
so lovely.
She stayed till probably almost 1:00 last night, signing posters, T-shirts, taking pictures with people. And I love number one, that so many people were ready to be a part of this afterwards. We wanted the stickers, the merch, anything like that. Supporting independent film is so huge. I think something that the Seattle area just does so well.
Yeah.
And so it was just the coolest thing to have you come and present this, to share your vision.
Honestly, having worked on something for 8 years, like almost a decade, to be able to just like celebrate with people is like why I did this. It's like why I've suffered.
Sure.
And I'm broke and I have maxed out my credit cards and I'm trying to figure out my life. But it's like worth it at the end of the day when like people are able to come up to me and be like, I needed this movie, or this movie affected me, because it's like, okay, fine. Like it was worth this stress and the heartache and the labor and the sacrifice that I really did have to make.
Sure. No,
and so
absolutely.
So, it's just such an honor, honestly, to be here and to meet people and to feel like I'm now part of a bigger community of Scratchtown people, and that we're all in it together.
Yes.
And like, I hope in the future when people come to a screening, they dress up like the characters.
Yeah.
They dress up like AP or Danny or a cleaning person.
I don't know if the gold member is going to make it through security some places, but
it's rubber. It's
That's
just
right.
a rubber dildo. Okay. I think we are getting our cue now.
We are now.
But so lovely.
Thank you so much again.
So much.
Absolutely. Congratulations on the film. Fucktoys is playing in Seattle today. I will be championing this film. They are. They're kind of studs. So really, I'm just really looking forward to sharing this conversation and then just being able to share the film with more people, because the response last night from talking to people in line, they loved it.
Oh my God.
It is. And like you said, I mean, from South by to SIFF, I think Austin, Seattle, these are places where you're going to have some fans already. I just love hearing from so many different diverse people how the film kind of affected them and where it resonated and what they maybe kind of grew some people's confidence, I think, too, as well.
Good.
So
people should pee on each other. It's fine.
They're absolutely.
It's no big deal.
People are going to come out of this movie and they're going to be like, where could we find more of this woman? I think anybody who comes out of this film is going to be like, what is she going to be in next? Because that's where I'm at. I'm like, I can't wait to see you on the screen.
I really want to play an Irish step dancer, and I really want to play like a villain in a cat suit. And I have all kinds of ideas.
Your bag of tricks is just overflowing.
I'm game for whatever.
You're like, I got most of it out with Fucktoys, and
now we can get weird. Like,
absolutely.
Now let's get into
now we're gonna get weird. Okay.
As long as I'm not playing like a mom or a doctor.
You're 20, 30 years out from playing a mom, so you're good. I want
to play a mom or a doctor. Those are like the two most, or like a cop. I want to be like goofy and fun.
You're going to be leading films. I have such a strong belief in that. Last comment.
Yes.
Just because watching this film, for this being your feature debut, made me. It evoked a lot of what I felt when Dev Patel did his film Monkey Man last year. Yeah. Which was seriously just like,
Dev.
You have swung for the fences in so many ways. You've taken such big risks for a first film, number one. Okay, and it lands, though.
They didn't feel like big risks to me.
Are there,
in the moment, they felt like,
maybe they're not big risks to me either. Yeah. But when when you think of the movie going audience, or you think of to take such a chance on yourself, though, and to see it succeed. Yeah. It's just
we call that betting on yourself.
Absolutely.
And I think that like we are in the era, you can't wait for other people to give you permission or to like give you the job. You have to like make the job for yourself, and then you have to bet on yourself.
Absolutely.
And if it means that you're going to be poor and maxing out your credit cards and living in Louisiana and really unsexy for 8 years.
Health insurance status is at maybe. I don't.
Health insurance. I'll tell you, not had health insurance in a very long. I don't know what that's even like. I don't even remember.
Like, I don't know when the window opens.
Literally, I'm just like get acupuncture because it's cheaper. I don't know. It's
the psychic will tell me what I need to do. Actually,
no. It's like the reason I called the psychic is because I was sick, and then that's how the whole movie's because I didn't have health insurance.
She said, "Dump your boyfriend."
She said, "Dump your boyfriend." That's my medical diagnosis for you.
You're a pimp shirt.
It's that like Rocky story. It's like that Rocky story where it's like you really have to be poor and broke for a very long time and bet on yourself, and then hopefully have something that will be the reward at the end of it. But you have to like you have to take that risk. And that was the risk that Tim, my producer, and I took. And now he's actually calling me probably like, get your ass over here to this movie.
Absolutely. Annapurna, thank you so much.
So
for your time.
much.
Fucktoys.
That was so
Keep
fun.
an eye out.